I tend to be that person who does believe that narcissistic abuse cannot happen without a victim and enablers. So it has to kind of be the perfect storm. First of all, you have to have an unhealthy perpetrator or antagonistic person, which is the narcissist. Then you have to have a victim or an unhealthy person who is willing to give more chances than is absolutely necessary. Third of all, you have to have the enablers, which can number anywhere from 1 to hundreds of enablers that excuse and ignore the narcissist's inappropriate behavior. So we hear a lot of talk in the original aftermath of our break from the narcissist. We do all this research from professionals and take in all this information and study it, trying to figure out what happened and why we were so blindsided and try to make sense of things. And although, in my personal opinion, it's very helpful and very worth the time to become educated, I'm sick to death of the perspective that I keep hearing in the professional community about what the narcissist is thinking, whether they're aware of what they're doing or whether we should forgive them, and why there's so much controversy in the first place over narcissistic personality disorder or people who are highly narcissistic and have inflicted their wounds, their own wounds, onto other people and spreading the poison, so to speak. There's seeking understanding about what we went through. And then once we hit that point where we realize what we went through, we know we were dealing with a narcissist, and we need to move from that point forward. We need to just table theorizing about whether they're to blame or whether they should be forgiven. My feeling is that there comes a point where you just have to stop theorizing and just accept that radical acceptance that the professionals talk about, that they are who they are, and we all collectively need to steer clear of highly narcissistic people. This is something that is really hurting all of us, not just narcissistic abuse victims. And to a certain extent, yes, we do need to understand what we went through and what part of ourselves was unhealthy that allowed that to happen, and how to prevent it from happening again, and what red flags to watch for and what behaviors to watch for, so that we don't find ourselves repeating that abusive pattern or find ourselves victims again of another unhealthy person. But there's something very specific that I wanted to talk to you guys about today, and it's something that was partially inspired by some positive feedback I've received on my channel recently, so thank you for that, and also partially inspired by a trend that I personally have noticed. And this trend is that we are trying, I think, a little bit too hard to make sense of a narcissist and their behavior and why they are the way they are. It does not matter. None of that matters, and I don't mean to be insensitive about the abuse that we have suffered in any way, shape, or form. I merely want to make a point that we probably don't want to over-focus on the why. Once we establish and recognize that we were the victim of narcissistic abuse, we need to move beyond that, and we need to accept that the narcissist is who they are and leave it at that, and not try to understand or convince ourselves that we can influence a narcissist in any way, shape, or form. That's just going to wind up hurting us in the end, or hurting us again, getting us into a similar situation or a situation with another disturbed type of personality. And we don't want to go there. The fact is, the narc is a narc, and there's nothing you can do to change them. There's nothing you can do to influence them. There's nothing you can do to make them better. There's nothing you could have done differently. I believe that our biggest influence as victims is going to be that we educate ourselves. Our understanding of how a narcissist operates is what we're going to use as education and information to further spread what narcissism is and how it works to others. Now, don't beat your head up against the wall. Some people are not going to get it. But again, my point is, let's focus on the how and not the why. That's where it really hinges, in my personal opinion and in my experience. One misleading idea, I think, that the narcissism experts focus a little bit too much on, or that there might be, in my opinion, a little bit of misunderstanding on, is that narcissists expect conformity. And of course they do, but they do not desire, nor do they expect conformity from everybody in the room. So when you're in a situation where you are suspicious that you are a target or a victim of a narcissist, understand that while you're educating yourself, one of the things that people are not saying is that while they talk about conformity and obedience, that this is what the narcissist expects, they're expecting it exclusively from you. They're just expecting it from their target or their victim. They're not focused on that mindset with anybody else. Everyone else is a tool. They're only expecting conformity. They're only expecting compliance from their victim, which is a singular person at any given time. Someone to make the narcissist feel like they have some sort of authority and power. What most people do not understand is that the most effective people in a narcissistic relationship is the enabler. The enablers are key to a narcissist's success. So most people that a narcissist comes into contact with are simply tools. Most people that the narcissist comes into contact with aren't victims or targets. Most people that the narcissist comes into contact with and works very hard at manipulating are the enablers, the people who are going to help the narcissist get ahead, get what they want, get whatever. We need to also understand that narcs are devious. They're absolutely devious. They are so skilled and so intelligent. We tend to think of them as dopes. Narcissists are skilled manipulators and very intelligent. The most effective way, in my personal opinion, to combat narcissism is to hit them where it counts. And that is by educating others about what an enabler is and what it means to enable. The moment we think that we can outsmart a narcissist is the moment we become a fool. The only way, in my personal opinion, that we're truly going to combat narcissism is to educate others what it means to be an enabler. Narcissists don't ever function or move about the room focused on just their target. Their entire scheme and plan of conquering their target requires others, enablers, to believe and support that they are a superior person or that their behavior and treatment of their target isn't as bad as what it might seem to the target, because the enablers don't have a clue. The enablers, if anything, are just grateful that it's not them that's the target. More often than not are the real fools. And trust me, I was an enabler too. If you watch some of my prior content videos, you'll see that. Our biggest mistake as victims in trying to combat narcissism is believing for 1 second that the narcissist is really to blame for the problem. We need to recognize that not only are the enablers key to a narcissist's success, our involvement and our reactions and our response to the narcissist is what narcissistic abuse hinges on. They cannot be successful, so to speak, depending on what your definition of successful is, in their narcissistic abuse if their victims are not compliant and their enablers are not fools. The narcissist is only going to be successful in conquering you and maintaining that constant fuel of supply that you give if you are compliant and if enablers are fools. The narcissist is only going to expect conformity to those few individuals in their circle that demonstrate the very virtues that they despise: honesty, integrity, genuineness, joy, compassion, accountability. The people that esteem these kinds of values send a very powerful and deep trigger into the soul of the narcissist, inflaming their long buried feelings of inadequacy, making them feel like lesser than a person. And that goes back to their childhood. Again, not to imply that they deserve or need your compassion in any way, shape, or form. A highly narcissistic individual or a narcissist will be already beyond help. These are the people that the narc needs to feel as though they've conquered, that the narc is going to constantly abuse and seek supply from, because on a regular basis, this person has such cherished and esteemed values and such focus on truth and integrity and honesty and compassion and humanity that it makes, by virtue of who they are, it makes the narcissist feel like crud. These are the people that the narcissist imagines needs to be taken out at all cost. And remember, like I said, it occurs one person at a time. The narc can't focus on multiple victims at a time. Everyone else in the room is a tool. But keep in mind that not all enablers are going to be open to hearing about what narcissism is or what narcissistic abuse is. Too many people just don't care. If they're not a victim, they don't care. So choose your battles wisely and don't push it with people who are not going to listen, because you're just going to exhaust yourself and wear your own self down in the process. Meanwhile, the narcissist is picking at you like a woodpecker. But this is how we're going to make an impact. When we are not actively involved with a narcissist, we can actually educate people from a neutral standpoint, not from a victim standpoint, and we can change the course of narcissistic abuse. So look in the mirror, look around you, look at your friends, look at your family, look at your coworkers, look at your circle, and pay attention. If you are not currently in a narcissistic relationship and you can be a influencer in any way, shape, or form, influence the people around you to start paying attention to what narcissistic abuse is and what narcissists are, that it is a diagnosable personality disorder according to the professionals. And the only way that narcissists can achieve their goal and have a victim is because we allow it to happen. Are you an enabler? Are your friends enablers? Are your coworkers enablers? Is your boss an enabler? Are your neighbors enablers? Are some of your friends in your friends group enablers? Are some of your family members enablers? Steer clear of these people. Make sure that you remember your healthy boundaries and invest your time and your heart and your energy into good, healthy relationships that are productive, reciprocal, loving, and mutually beneficial, and not lecherous like narcissistic relationships are. Thanks so much for tuning in today, guys. Take care of you.